Um, okay, so real quick, and then we can do our banter.
Our cold open. This is the cold open right here.
Cold open, yeah.
Which let me tell you, it's super interesting to see you nervous about this book.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
because you don't
letting you
see
into the good stuff.
Yeah, that's behind the curtain.
Oh yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
you usually play everything pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then you throw up.
Yeah. Yeah. I just I go. It's usually the pattern. It's like I'm laughing and then I'm crying and then
you might benefit from a bucket.
Up. What?
Do you have a vomit bucket? My kids have a vomit bucket. It's like a 5-gallon bucket, and it has usually a plastic Walmart bag inside of it. So when they're sick, they put it by their bed, and when they have to get sick, they get sick, and then I have to take it out. It's disgusting. But you could have a bucket next to you at all times.
No. I moved away from the bucket and went straight to the double bag, the double trash bag. I've learned
a whole trash bag.
What?
Like a whole kitchen trash bag?
Yeah, but then it's got to be double lined. It's got to be double lined.
They just put their mouth up to it,
it's the best.
Like a giant airplane barf bag.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you, think about it. Well, one, it condenses a lot better, right? It's there, and this is what I found is the splash factor. So when somebody's not feeling well and you got a bucket and you're going into it, sometimes it just kind of doesn't do what it needs to do. And so it's nice to have a nice wide entry gate. And then here's the best: quick and easy cleanup for the old man. You know what I mean? Because I don't got to dump things out. I don't have to wash it out. I don't have to do anything like that. You know what I mean? So
I can't even look at it. This is such a great way to start a podcast. People are just loving it. Yeah, about throwing up and where it goes and how it splashes in the bucket and how many bags you need.
Well, that's the kind of high programming that we offer here. You know, just that kind of wisdom and insight is really what drives the content of this podcast. Is going, what kind of receptacles should you use when your kids are sick and they need to throw up into something? We got you. Is that deep? Is that too deep for you?
That's deep.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, it's like whether or not the guest comes or not, I just really enjoy. I just enjoy just chit-chatting with you. As a matter of fact, it's kind of.
And
nice.
I hope that he does.
No, here.
This guy's name is Allen Levi. This is the guy that wrote the novel Theo of Golden, which got a lot of attention recently.
Theo of Golden.
And I'm only like 10 pages into it, but
What's the main idea? Did you chat GPT it?
Nah, yeah. Well, I heard a summary of it, but I don't know that I want to give a summary of it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
No, we're not going to.
Okay, it's basically a guy who moves to a town called Golden, and he in a shop somewhere there are maybe like almost 100 portraits painted of different people from the town.
Okay.
And he wants to, I think, give each of the people their own portrait. So that's as far as I have. So.
Okay. All right. Well, but we can talk about that. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about this guy, which I think is kind of part of the bit, right?
Of course.
So,
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So excited. I actually got a little nervous. I have to admit.
You got nervous about what? This is when you freaked out earlier?
I'm just talking about I know that we've met all kinds of people and it's really, but every single time I still just get a little nervous. And I think people feel that way, don't they? It's like when you meet somebody new, there's always this sense of like, hey, is my breath smell okay? But I mean, even
totally new,
online,
you have no preparation. You haven't, you're going to talk to somebody who spent thousands of hours writing a book and you haven't even read the book. That's a thing. Alan,
here
there he is.
You
did it.
This is so exciting, Alan. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, I was just saying, I'm so honored to be here. And there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah, so it's great to be able to kind of to understand and to get to know you a little bit. I am curious. Can you just kind of go, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be you right now? Like, how would you describe what life feels like for you?
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer to that, aside from blessed and grateful and such, overwhelmed right now. I've just got a lot on my plate. Most of it is good. I've got family stuff like everybody does. Family stuff for me means a 97 and a half-year-old father that lives with me. I'm a single guy, so I'm kind of the one that has the privilege and the responsibility of keeping my eye on him. We're down to 700 acres that I have to kind of keep my eye on. A couple of hundred acres right around me requires some time and energy. So that's another thing. I'm involved in things in the community that I really love. And I've got these stories rattling around in my head now. I mean, I've got residents in my brain that I just cannot get out of there. And so it means 24/7, I've got something in my mind that I wish I could sit down and be writing about. So the bandwidth is totally consumed right now, but I'm grateful for it.
That's really great. Joe, I want to tell you one of the reasons why I thought that Allen would be great to have a conversation with is when I saw him at the conference. And of course, Allen, the only rule of the podcast is that whoever's on it has to be a stranger to us. And I think that still applies. I mean, you and I had a couple minute conversation.
Yeah.
But it was just so clear, Joe. I mean, in just a few minutes of just talking to you, you are so personable. You have a rare level of personability, and that just makes for a great opportunity to talk to somebody. And so, so we've been looking forward to talking to you. I have started. Joe's going to start soon. Theo of Golden.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
The book that you wrote, and so far, enjoying that. But I'm not very far into it. But I think it would be great for Joe to hear. I did hear a little bit from that session at the conference, just a little bit of your backstory and the many different things, which is fascinating, the many different things that you've sort of done in your life. So maybe you could give a little backstory.
Sure.
So that Joe could catch up on that.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. This will be the 30,000 foot flyover. Born in South Alabama to a solidly middle class but very hardworking mom and dad family. Older sister, two younger sisters, a younger brother. We moved from South Alabama to Columbus, Georgia in the late 1950s. And that's where I grew up. I still consider in some ways Columbus my home. Was a pretty good student. And as far as being personable, first of all, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. I think that's just a result of being around personable people and particularly good storytellers, and as Wendell Berry might call them, good talkers. So I kind of grew up in that milieu. I was a pretty good student, and I think my mom and dad realized early on that if I wanted to, I could probably pursue a profession. So I went to Mercer University for a year right out of high school, transferred to the University of Georgia, got a degree in English. From there, went to law school, graduated in 1980 from law school, went to Columbus and practiced for 10 years, very full-time. Took a couple of years off in the early 90s to go to Edinburgh, Scotland. I got a master's in Scottish fiction while I was there. Went back home to part-time law practice, meaning 4 or 5 hours a day. And at the same time, I was really becoming enamored of the possibility that I could make a living as a musician. I was writing a lot of songs and playing a bit. So in the mid-90s, right before the Olympics came to Georgia, I left law practice to pursue music. My career plan was that I would do that for 2 years, go broke, and return back to law practice. I thought it was way outside my league to be doing it, but it worked out really well. My career plan failed, and I did that for about 20 years. My brother got sick in 2011. He was my closest friend, my mentor, my hero, 13 months younger than me. But I shut down everything to care for my brother. He lived a year and passed away. After that, I didn't want to travel anymore. I was just tired of that. And I had enjoyed being home a lot. So I did a little bit of music after that, but I was approached about running for a judgeship. And I ran and was elected to be the probate judge of the county where I live. It's about 45,000 people, small county, or I should say large county, small population. And I did that and then left that office and I didn't know what to do next. So I was in a coffee shop one day and I had an idea for a book. And I sat down and started writing a book, and Theo of Golden is the end result of that. Let me just add this one footnote too, and this is not a footnote. This is kind of like a banner headline. When I was a senior at the University of Georgia, I had grown up in the church, but I was not a follower of Christ. I think my mom and dad kind of raised us to do good, love mercy, and that thing, walk humbly with your God. But none of us were followers of Christ. And in 1978, when I was 22, I began my walk with Christ, surrendered my life to Him. I was the first in my family to do so. My younger brother was next, my 3 sisters after that, and then lastly, my mother and father. And that has continued since then to define my life in a very bumpy, pilgrimage with Christ. But that's kind of the flyover. That's it.
Now, do you? I mean. And now you're caring for your dad on 700 acres and and talking to us,
I love it.
As you look at the arc of things, that's it's just remarkable to be with you. Now, let me ask you this. You had mentioned being around personable people.
Yeah.
What is it as you think? Because I can get a sense that that you have a mind that both can think from a law perspective, very detailed, and the law is very binary.
Yeah.
Whereas art and creativity and design has more margin and places to kind of go. Yeah. How would you define what a personable person is, and how has that impacted you on how you care for other people?
Yeah, thank you. Rather than define it, I think maybe what I would do is just give what seemed to me defining characteristics of a person who is personable.
Yeah.
There may be another word than personable for that. I would like to think that loving is a better word, and that is kind of the rock bottom of what any of us, I think, aspire to in life. And in some people, it turns out to be personability, and some it turns to be contemplative sort of approach to life. But I think as far as characteristics of personable, as I would define the term, interest in others, a deep curiosity in the world around us, and particularly in the stories of other people. I think a cultivated sense of wonder. And I say cultivated because, as y'all know, life just sucks that out of us if we're not careful, and we have to be very deliberate about maintaining it. For me, a love for story and for words, I think, is a big part of it. But I think really it's just trying to be who Jesus was. A passage that I love more than any in the Scripture, and to me, it's kind of the one that I would hang over my bed. Says that we are to be imitators of God as dearly loved children, and live a life of love just as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. I think to imitate Christ is to be a personable, to be a person, or caring for person type of man or woman. And so I think that makes me naturally outgoing when I'm with people. I am by nature an introvert, very much so. As I define the term, my energy comes from being alone, and I spend lots of time alone. But I love being with people, especially one-on-one, when I can have a conversation, ask questions, respond to questions. And as for the bringing the law world into the creative world, I kind of wrestled to the mat years ago that really there is a symmetry there that dispels the notion that my changes career-wise were very drastic. As a lawyer,
I'm so interested. Okay, so you're telling me that both of those in your heart and mind, that there's a parallel to it, that they connect, right?
Yeah,
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, no doubt. So as a lawyer, my job was to tell stories. I was largely a litigator, and so I got to tell stories. My tool was words. And my goal was to persuade. Okay, when I switched over into music, I still was telling stories. I still was using words, and my hope was still to persuade people. Obviously, the goal of persuasion as a musician and now as an author is very different than what it was as a litigator. But the tools and the purpose of my work tends to be the same. And now as an author, I'm still telling stories, using words, and trying to persuade people. In law, you're right, it is a very binary sort of realm, but there's a lot of nuance in it. That's why two people in a litigation situation looking at the same set of facts can come up with very divergent views of what happened and who was responsible and that sort of thing. So I think that really the parallel between the different paths that I have been on is stronger than most people would assume. I'm still doing now what I was doing back in the early 80s as a storytelling lawyer. If that makes any
captivating. That is so captivating to me. You're right that when you take two people that are looking at the same artifacts, but are coming to two different conclusions on that, and then to adjudicate, to be able to say, look, this is how the law then would interpret both your vantage points and the artifacts, to be able to then display wisdom, which is that idea of that it works in the white space between things that are written and things that are seen, and being able to use wisdom in that way, that the creativity of that, the knowledge of that, and then the pursuit of that for the care for other people, that there is a real continuity to those things.
There is, and I would,
am I tracking with you?
Oh yeah, totally. No doubt about it. I would hearken to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as the best example of four people looking at the exact same set of facts and not coming up with different conclusions, but approaching it with a different perspective because of who they were and who we all are uniquely. And so litigation is that. And then as a songwriter, I get to be kind of the only voice in the room, and hopefully the things that I wrote as a musician reflected a view of life and a view of the world and a view of human community and a view of Jesus that resonates with what the scripture teaches. Yeah.
That's very true. Allen, I would love to go back to something you said a minute ago and hear you talk a little bit more about it. A moment ago, you said that you are more of an introvert.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to say next is not empty flattery. It is actually something that I have observed a number of things. And, one of the things that Joe and I have in common is we do like very much to watch people and to see the way that they interact with others. That's why you stood out to me in our brief interaction. And as I was in that room at the conference, I could see you interacting with other people.
Yeah.
And for someone who says he is introverted, you have a very extroverted way of engaging people. For instance, you have a way of looking at someone with full attention.
Yeah.
And there is all of your personality. You have a kind of Southern charm, the Georgia charm. I have some family from Georgia. They're like that.
It is always captivating. The Southern charm out in California, we just don't. You know what I mean? It sounds too twangy. But I tell you what, that Southern deal, you could just be ordering a pancake and eggs, and it just sounds like like a warm blanket.
It's real. It's a real thing. It is a real thing. It really is.
But there's such a kindness in the way that you looked at people when you were talking. And these are strangers to you.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious, what influences in your life do you think contributed to that? There were people that modeled for you love. And who were the most loving people that modeled that in your life that made you this way?
Yeah, I probably don't know many of them, honestly. I think it's just almost by osmosis that we pick that up. My brother Gary was very much that way. He loved people. He was probably more of an extrovert, very capable of being alone and spending a lot of time, thinking and reading and praying and whatnot. But his life was largely influential, more as an adult than as a child. I don't really know growing up who those people were. Because I don't feel like there was a point in life where I suddenly became what I am now. I think I've always been this way. And again, I take no credit for that. There's no self-congratulation in that. This is the way that God wired me. I do think as an adult, though, hearing the preaching of the gospel and trying to look into the life of Jesus, understanding what it was like. There's a phrase that I love by Eugene Peterson, and he's a writer who I really, really enjoy. There's a phrase where he talks about living with adorational attentiveness. Adorational attentiveness. And I think we all want to be attentive to life around us if we really want to, if we really want to enter into life in some full sort of way. But the modifier there, adorational, I think adds a whole new dimension, especially to how we interact with people. and to interact one-on-one, looking at a person adorationally, not necessarily because they're so adorable, but because they have the image of God in them. It's just something that I think all of us are called upon to do. You've got your hand up like you can't hear me or something.
No, I can hear you. Nope. You're doing great. You're doing great. It all sounds good. No, I was just thinking as you said that about Eugene Peterson's words. That's actually it. That's the thing I'm observing in you when you are talking to other people. And it was amazing to see the way that people felt with you, free to just open up to you. And it's just a beautiful thing, And
Thank
so
you. Thank you.
it was just a very cool thing to watch.
Yeah. Well,
now okay. So I'm so interested in these words that you're using, to cultivate wonder, and the idea of this adorational attentiveness, that there's an intentionality how is it that you cultivate wonder, right? Because you had mentioned that I think the world, and there are a lot of things in it that just fight against that, right?
Right.
The world, the flesh, and the devil kind of work against those things.
Right.
How is it as you've lived and you've experienced, and the things that you have found to be true, how is it that you cultivate that wonder? Is it a habitual kind of a habit thing, or is it mostly on the fly and then it comes and goes? Maybe help us to see the world the way that you do, cultivating wonder.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of intentionality, and some of it I think is just the way that I've grown up. I've been out of doors a lot over the course of my life. My dad's a forester. And so I've spent a lot of time with him in his work, even as a little boy. We hunted, we fished, we were outdoors a lot. And I think that I've acquired a love for the creation that I might not have had otherwise. So that's part of it, just being outside. And even now, I spend a lot of time outside, and I try to do that with no noise in my ears. I try not to keep a phone with me when I'm outdoors working, and that's usually hours every day. And I always keep a pad and a pen with me. So it could be that I'm working on a song in the morning and I'm chopping firewood in the afternoon, but kind of writing during my work breaks or when something comes to me. So part of it is just the rhythm of life for me. It's not an intentional thing, but there are things when I feel my soul kind of sagging.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I sit still a lot outside, often with a book in hand. Sometimes I sketch. But anything to make me look closely at things around me. There's a lot of stillness. I'm sure y'all are familiar with John Mark Comer and the way that he encourages us to the disciplines of Jesus: silence, solitude, stillness, simplicity, and Sabbath. And in some way, all of those are a part of my life. And when I read his book about the ruthless elimination of hurry, it resonated with me because I realized those are parts of my rhythm these days. And I think that contributes to a sense of wonder. But I think to pray for God, give it to me. I think we can try to conjure it up, but I really do believe that it's just a gift that God gives us. We have to be available. We have to be cooperative. We have to be willing to be still, for delivery. And God very graciously has given it to me. As far as a sense of wonder about people, and this goes back, Rush, to the introvert thing, I make myself be with people. And I love it. Okay, so on a typical Monday, Wednesday, Friday in our community, I go to our local high school from 7 to 8 o'clock. I've been doing this for 25 years now. And I open the back door and I hold it for kids as they're getting off the bus and coming into school. We have one high school in my community, 1,700 kids. And, I know a few hundred of them by name. And just to engage with young people for 30 seconds, 10 seconds, just a good morning each day. I don't know how that promotes a sense of wonder in the people around me, but it just does. I just have a real affection and a sense of gosh, I don't even know the word, blessing when I'm with them. I read to school kids. I love their sense of wonder. And I think that maybe some of that is contagious. I think as older people, all of us might be well served to spend time with little people. I know that you guys might have families with children and it's a little easier, but even beyond just your inner circle, just to be around little people who have a lot of energy and who still have a sense of wonder and who are fearless when it comes to conversation, that sort of thing. But so it's a cultivated thing. It's a gift thing. And then I think it's just the way that God wired me and raised me up in the circumstances I grew up in. And I'm thankful. I'm extremely, extremely thankful. I'll add this to that. As a songwriter, I knew I couldn't play a guitar well. I couldn't sing terribly well. In fact, I could not sing well at all. And as a writer, maybe I was okay. But I did have at least moderate levels of all of those skill sets. But every day when I was a songwriter, and this was for 20 years, I woke up asking myself, where is the song today? And it was not unusual in a typical year for me to write 200 or 300 songs. Most of them had a shelf life.
Hold on a second. Did you say 200 or 300 songs?
Yes.
In a year?
Yeah, I did that.
Holy moly. Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of songs.
Joe, don't be impressed. The number does not.
It is impressive. You can't say something like that and then say, don't be impressed.
Again, I mean, I do sing some songs when I eat a good meal, I'll sing a song to the meal, I think that's a way that I celebrate meals. Then sing, but man, writing songs, that's amazing.
Yeah. But so the number says nothing about the quality of them, but so I will give you an example. Like if I'm flying out to Kansas City to play a gig tonight, my piano player and I would travel together, and I would write a song on the plane about that particular day or some particular thought. But in order to do that, I had to find something to kind of hang my hat on. And so I think that every day that pursuit of the song became an exercise in wonder.
Yes,
because I wanted to find something in the airport, on the ride, in a thought, in a conversation that I could then attach music and lyric to. And it typically ended up being something metaphorical. But I think that was a great discipline. If I were an English professor, I think I would require that of my students if it was a creative writing course. Every day come in with either a song idea, a poem, a paragraph, but you've got to come up with something that's imaginative. Maybe that is anthropomorphic, where you give a voice to a bird or a voice to a shoe or a voice to a fork. And I tell you, it just breaks the world open with possibility for where God speaks to us. And I am just convinced that, as Doug McKelvey says in his book, every moment is holy. And everything is a liturgy of one kind or another. And I think that kind of keeps the wonder muscle, well exercised.
Yeah, and what you're describing is this attentiveness. There's an attentiveness, an observation, an intentionality to make observations of the world that you're in, and to be able to then relate that to who you are and who your God is, and making those connections. Where am I in this space? What am I seeing? What am I observing? How does that reveal and give me a sense of who my God is and where I'm placed in this? And then how do I then communicate that or make observations or tell that story or celebrate it or lament it? Am I tracking with you?
Perfect.
Oh,
that's perfect.
I don't write songs, but those are moments that are very life-giving to me as well, where you're able to see that. As a matter of fact, my kids make fun of me about it all the time. I go, "Hey, did you see that?" Or, "Hey, let's look at this." I'm like, the other day I was with my kids, and my son literally turns to me and goes, "Dad, you don't have to say something about everything you see, can you just be quiet for a minute?" And I go, "Okay, fine. I'll just keep those as inside thoughts." But it is that wonder. And it's interesting that you share it through music.
Yeah.
And I do find that my joy is complete when I make an observation or I'm connected with something, and then I'm able to then share that with another person.
Right.
And if that other person sees or engages with it, that I find that that's a connectedness for relatability and friendship and belonging, especially for those who are Christ followers, where they're going, wow, we see and experience the same things because we worship and know the same God.
Yeah. Hey, that's great. And Joe, let me just say this. Keep saying all of that ridiculous stuff around your kids. It gets in.
Okay,
Don't
I'm
you
going
think
to listen to this because I'm going to tell you. Listen, Mr. Allen said that we
Yes.
got to keep talking about it.
Yeah, it gets in somehow. And I would say too that maybe a fringe benefit of having that sort of vision about life is that it protects us from boredom. And I do get asked from time to time, given that I don't have a family and I live in a small town in the middle of Georgia, don't you get bored living out there? There's no theater, there's no stores, there's no grocery store. I mean, you live in every kind of desert there is. And I say, no, I don't. My life is filled with inexhaustible wonder. And I think that going through life with our eyes open to kind of make the connections between heaven and earth, it just makes it this gloriously interesting place. And so if nobody ever gets to hear the things that you or Rush and I see, or the connections that we make, we get to see it. And hopefully it enriches our lives and draws us closer to God.
Making those connections between heaven and earth for our joy, for God's glory. And if we get to, we can share it with others too.
Touché.
And guys, it was making me think as we were talking about this, the way that sense of wonder and making those observations makes our life make sense. Allen, you missed an important moment earlier before you came on. You missed getting to see Joe throw open his mouth a little bit when he realized that we are.
What are we doing,
No.
Rush?
This is important.
This is an
What are we talking about?
We are way behind, Allen, on a book project. And when he realized that this was another one of the things in his, swelling life of good things, he expressed how hard it is to get all of that to come together.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's, there's all these moving pieces.
He saw me in a moment. I was a little overwhelmed.
It was a great moment.
And Rush was like, man, I don't normally see you overwhelmed.
Yeah. But I want to shift from that back to your story, Allen, and ask you another aspect of it that I'm interested to know about. And it is that when I hear your story, I'm struck by major, what Joe and I call hard pivots. There are major moments where you've chosen to make an enormous change. And while a sense of wonder is central to that, there's also a sense of bravery. And I think it's very important. I try to, encourage my kids and to do hard things and to be willing to take chances and to step out there. And you've done that a number of times. And so I would love to hear you talk about what that experience has been like for you to make such big jumps that take bravery. I mean, I'm imagining you decide to change your sort of profession. Now I'm going to be a songwriter, and there's a lot of risk involved in that. So I wonder how that had played out for you.
Yeah, a couple of things I would say. First of all, they were big jumps, but they were not sudden jumps. Okay, so they were the kinds of things that incubated for a long time before I ever finally stepped off the cliff. And then with regards to the risk element of it, the risk was only to me. If I had had a wife and children, I'm sure that I would have viewed things very differently. But at each juncture, at each of those pivot points, they weren't decisions that I made all by myself. I've been really blessed to have wise people in my life, people who I trust much more than I trust myself. And whenever it came, to the point that I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is what I should be doing, I would always go to those people and say, hey, let me run this by you. How does it sound to you? And, typically they were very affirming. But I'll tell you a recent example of where it's become a bit of a rub. It's kind of a hard thing, but I'm thankful for it. So I'm working on a sequel now to the book that I wrote a couple of years ago, Theo of Golden. And I'm 420 pages into it, and parts of it feel really good. Parts of it I've got some questions about. But I've got a little inner circle of guys we meet every year for a long weekend. And they were the ones that encouraged me to put Theo of Golden out. But I sent them the manuscript of the new book, and the response has been very muted. And I think that we have agreed this is not something you ought to publish until you've done a lot of work. And that lot of work thing, Joe, to your overcrowded life, that's when I throw up my food in my mouth. Because I know, look, redoing two or 250 pages of text, I just know.
right?
I mean, how long will it take to throw that up in my mouth?
Oh, man.
But I trust these guys. And my dad, who is still very, very clear thinking, he's a wise man. I go to him. I've got some other family members whose judgment I trust a lot, and I know they love me enough to be honest with me. So, Rush, to your question, these pivots. I usually did it with the wind at my back, and I had some people who were kind of holding me up, and then there was a lot of prayer before I ever made them. Such that when I did make them, there was never any second guessing about them. I never looked back and said, "God, that was a huge mistake." Everything I've done so far, I feel like God has said, "This is good."
So maybe one more question along those lines. What was the most exhilarating shift for you? Because they are incredible. Some are in service through your work in law, and some songwriting, and now novel writing. Yeah. Which was the most exhilarating to you?
I guess the one that was most immediately exhilarating, and this is a mixed bag, was when I left law practice to do music. Law practice was hard. It is hard work. It's extremely demanding. It's stressful. I was with a firm. I had, depending on the time, 10 to 15 partners. We were all accountable to one another, and it was really hard for a lot of reasons. I enjoyed the work probably as much or more than the average lawyer does, but it was hard. And so when I stepped out of that into music, I go into my studio, which is newly built, and I'm sitting there, and I was exhilarated to think, gosh, I don't have to fight with people anymore unless I choose to. And really, I felt a lot of guilt, if anything, along with the exhilaration. I mean, who am I to leave that world where ministry is a pretty easy path? It's easy to be light in that world. And then to go from that into something that was all about making people happy and enjoying my work. I had to pray through that. Lord, is this guilt from you or is this guilt from me? But when I finally started sharing songs and seeing the power that they have to work with people, and this was usually in front of small audiences in lots of different settings, that was really, really exhilarating. And it was pretty immediate. I do think this, though, writing, I've just done the one novel, so I don't really have much credibility here. But I will say this. The thought of people picking up a book and spending 10 or 15 hours of their life with it, that has been very humbling, but the feedback has been exhilarating. And it's been an affirmation that I never expected, because I never expected to publish the book. So, but I will say this, that all of the changes have by and large been really, really positive and enjoyable.
Speaking of different seasons of life and different moments, I'd love to hear a little bit more. You've mentioned two ways in which that you've cared for your family. The way in which you cared for your brother and was a caregiver, and then also caring for your father now. I wrote it. It seems as though that I'm in a certain season of life now, to where the families that I'm around, that they're in a stage where they're caring for their aging parents, they're caring for their aging family members, and the thoughts from and not one story is alike. Right. That they're all different. They all have different needs or opportunities or responsibilities. There are different burdens in there, but there are certain things that I'm listening for, of how to be of encouragement to them, how to listen to them, how to be a good friend. I'm not in a place yet. Like, I'm in the early stages of where Heidi and I, my wife, we're going, okay, well, here's where our folks are. How do we start to prepare now to begin to think about and to make provision for how to be honorable to our parents and our family? What are some things that have been of personal help to you practically and personally, as you think about the good days and bad days and everything in between of caring for your family members?
Yeah. Gosh, thank you. And let me commend you and your wife. for giving some thought in advance to when that season will arrive. It will, most likely for all of us arrive.
Yeah.
And my peer group, I mean, this is kind of the conversation that we all have these days.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And
yeah,
I would,
let us listen in on that conversation. I'm
you
curious.
you probably don't want to hear it. You probably don't want to hear that. There's a lot of frustration that comes with it.
Yeah.
For me, so just recently, my dad surrendered his keys, his truck keys, which means that I'm now the driver.
Yeah.
And I don't get to travel anymore. I'm thankful that writing doesn't require me to travel. I can do my work here comfortably, and there's still things in the community to do to keep life purposeful. But it's confining, and I think that to prepare in advance is really a wise move to make. So I'm looking at my dad at 97, and I'm thinking, what can I do now to prepare myself for 97? And I think maybe when we're 40s and 50s, we might think, okay, what can I do to prepare myself for when mom and dad need more of my attention? Joe, I don't have a clear answer for that. Pray and just ask God for the patience that it takes, because at least that seems to be the theme. It takes a lot of patience. And my first prayer almost every day, honestly, almost every day is, God, please let me be a blessing to my dad. I think that caring for my brother, which was a team effort, it was me, my parents, my sisters were around a good bit then. I think that prepared me somewhat to just realize, okay, this really is a season of sacrifice. Okay. It doesn't, you still got a lot of freedom, a lot of autonomy, and I can still do things. But at the end of the day, I just have to be willing to say, okay, today, Dad needs me to do this, and that's more important than writing another page in the book, sort of thing. But I wish I could weigh in on that with any authority, but I'm still learning it as I go. Believe me.
It's interesting. It seems to me that that every day and every season, when you're caring for your aging parents, is a new application. It doesn't seem like that there's a particular framework or guidelines or checklists that. And it's interesting. Tell me if this resonates. The same muscle that connects heaven and earth in a sense of wonder, that skill of saying, okay, this is who I know my God to be. This is the reality of which I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And to be able to make that connection sacrificially and lovingly.
Yeah.
That essential skill set is what I'm hearing from my friends, and I'm hearing from you, is what helps to go, okay,
that's right.
I'm gonna engage in this, and I'm gonna engage that with a sense of adoration, even in the midst of my suffering or challenges or sense of loss, and also in the midst of that there's an honoring and a joy that comes on the backside of that.
Right.
Am I in the ballpark? Does any of that language resonate with you?
Yeah.
How would you add to that?
Yeah, well said. I would go back to the question on personability. Live a life of love just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Sometimes what we offer up as a sacrifice is our attention to the flower that is at our feet. And it's easy, and it's effortless maybe. It's beautiful, but saying, okay, I can't write this morning, I got to take my dad grocery shopping or something of that sort. That is to imitate Christ and the fact that he gave himself for us. And we all know that none of these circumstances come to us accidentally. I mean, God, I think God orchestrates them for us. And watching a sunset, he can teach us one thing. And, dealing with a parent that's a little bit difficult at times. And let me be very quick to say that if there is a party that is suffering through my learning process as a caregiver with an elderly parent, it is my dad. I'm sure he deals with a lot more frustration coming from my direction than I do coming from his. And that's just full disclosure. I'm sure that's the case.
I hear that.
That's humble.
Hey, so give me that little bit of a window here with our last few moments. I also have friends that I have a long weekend with once a year. and we're intentional about that.
Yeah.
What are some of the dynamics that that you look forward to with them? And are there particular things that you guys do? I'm always looking for new ideas or different ways in which to spend that intentional time. What are some things that are memories of that weekend for you?
Yeah, let me say first of all, it is one of the highlights of my life. These are 5 guys. We know each other well. We trust one another. And again, it's just a long weekend, and everybody is pretty stressed out, pretty running fast. Their lives are really crowded. Less so now as they get closer to retirement and things are slowing down a bit for most of them. One of them, y'all might know, a fellow named Bebo Norman. He was a musician back in the day.
I do know Bebo Norman. Well, I don't know him, but
Bebo Norman? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Dude, I brought Bebo Norman. I brought Bebo Norman out for I heard his album, tracked him down, and brought him out for a small concert at a ministry that I was associated with. Man,
Okay.
I haven't heard that name in quite a while.
Dude, I haven't either, but I listen to him on Spotify quite a bit, even recently. Yeah.
So let me connect the dots there. Bebo grew up in Columbus, Georgia. His mom and dad had been friends of mine forever. And when Bebo was a young teenager, he would come up here to my farm and we would play the guitar together. And I would. Great. But he's one of them.
Yeah, got it.
But to answer your question, Joe, we really have no agenda. The only thing that's an expectation is that we're going to eat a lot, and everyone has to report honestly about the past year. Good. And so we have been through some really hard things, some really pleasant things. We know each other well. And so it's just a time when things are working right that everybody lets their guard down and says, this is where I'm struggling. This is where things are going good. Here's married life. Here's parenting. Here's work life. And we're at the season where we're caring for parents now. That's a big part of our conversation. But that's really the only expectation. We're going to walk some, we're going to eat a lot, we're going to sit around and we're going to talk for hours and hours and hours. And most every year, there is a very generous share of laughter involved. We love each other, and we can speak unguardedly, say things we probably wouldn't say to anybody else or in any other setting. But
it was pretty great. Actually, it got inaugurated by a friend.
Yeah.
And again, we don't live in the same spot, but we kind of are in the same circles. And he came up to me one time. He said, "Hey, I really want to invest in our friendship.
Yeah.
And would you want to be a part of a small group of people that we just commit that every year we're going to spend time together for what you've just described?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
It's gold.
And to be able to develop that, I would hope that even our listeners maybe would be inspired that, man, who are those people that you could say, hey, listen, we're going to commit to really invest in, to develop and invest a level of candor, trustworthiness, honesty, one anothering. And it really is incredibly refreshing. Especially Bebo Norman's there.
Yeah, my God.
Yeah.
What?
So am I right? Am I right that Bebo Norman is a doctor now?
He is a physician's assistant. He might as well be.
Is he now? Okay. That's so great.
Yes, like white coat. I think.
You tell him. You tell him. There are some old college cats from the from the late '90s that really were into Bebo Norman.
Listen,
you tell them that they're the good old guys at the podcast. Rush and Joe. We're fans.
Sure. And I think that I messaged him to try to get him to do a conversation like this.
Oh, no kidding.
Really?
Yes. Because
funny.
we find people around like, oh, that person be interesting to talk to. I have Bebo Norman. He's from the past, so
let's
that's very cool.
That
just was and it's so sweet that to you, he's your friend. You know? And it's really fun to be able to, Alan, in some ways, to have, and that's how relationships is, right? It's go, oh, look, here's a connecting point, and that we're sharing with you even through different means. So that's really sweet.
Yeah. I will say this, that whether he likes it or not, Bebo has now become the resident physician. So this last time we were together, it was kind of like, hey, Bebo, would you look at this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My wife hates it. My wife hates it when I do that too. Doctors at church, but I don't have any problem.
So great. Oh yeah, everybody has that.
I'm sure that he commits malpractice every time we get together on the weekend now.
That's
misdiagnosis
wild.
and whatnot. Hey, we'll talk about that, Rush. Maybe y'all could get people to come talk with you about
Man,
it.
that would be amazing.
Yeah,
We would love
enjoy,
that. We would really love that.
We would enjoy that.
Yeah, we
that's
would
good.
love that.
Hey,
Yeah.
can I say something before we go any farther? I just
Sure.
want to make sure I get this in. So, Rush, I finished Die Hard Sins.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Sins? Yeah.
Yes.
And so we were talking about wonder a minute ago and personability and things of that sort. There's a lot of that in your book. I would think that people who read it or people that you have counseled with or, you've been a part of their life, I would think that they probably come away with your encounters saying it is wonderful to have someone who can take me where I am, who can empathize with me and lead me to a good place. So thank you for what you've done. And I encourage you to keep up the good work. And Joe, I'm sure the same could be said of you, but conversations this, I hope, would encourage all of us to stay the course.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I tell you what, it's been such a joy to just spend just a few moments with you. And as your life is full and you have different things that are happening, for you to be kind to us and to express that by spending some time. And to be honest with you, Jan, it's just been so enriching be able just to spend time with you, to think and to explore wonder together.
Yeah.
In how God has moved and has kind of brought together different aspects of your life and the way that you think has certainly resonated with the heartbeats of Rush and I. So I can see now why when Rush engaged with you, he gave me a call and he's like, Joe, man, I just met Allen. I really enjoy. I think, man, could we invite him to go hang out on the podcast? Because I think the way that I think he's going to be a really interesting person to talk to. And I think we would be encouraged and enjoy time with him. And I'm telling you what, that certainly has been true. So thanks so much for spending time with us.
You're welcome. Let me say too, that I think that after Rush and I met, I placed a very similar call to my niece, who was somehow in the loop there, Rush.
Oh, yeah.
And told her how much I enjoyed what little time we spent together there. Maybe we end with this thought here. Thomas Carlyle once wrote that wonder, since that seems to be part of our conversation here, wonder is the basis of worship. And conversations like this, I hope, facilitate that in all of us. And for anyone who listens, that, that sense of wonder would lead us closer to the heaven that we're all
Indeed it has. Indeed it has.
Indeed. Yep. You're very kind.
I'm telling you, this podcast, the excuse of just engaging with people, and the ways in which that you can find and engage with people in a way that has interest in them, that I'm telling you, it is just so enriching. I mean, what he said about, hey, I don't have a movie theater, I don't have other things around me, whatever, but my life is full because I am engaged in and considering the things that are around me and allowing the beauty and the challenge and the enrichment from that, making a connection between who he is, what he's observing, and who his God is. And then for us to be able to engage in that with others on this podcast, and this one, I tell you, this was like all gold stars. And you want to know why, though, is that we have found every once in a while, because we are willing to and enjoy engaging with all different kinds of people. Like, you don't have to be a Christ follower in order to be on this show, and the show isn't necessarily designed in a way to be able to promote or to talk about particular themes related to who God is and his word, but it is the activity of being human. And when you are able to connect that curiosity with someone who has new life in them because of what Christ has done, the ability to make those levels of connection is so visibly supernatural and so visibly real in terms of what it means to be human, to make connections between heaven and earth, and to do that together relationally. Like, that's what Allen gave me today. Is He gave me some more language to that. He gave me another illustration of that. He gave me honestly, just the inspiration and the encouragement to lean in on that and not to be distracted by other things and not to be overwhelmed by other things.
To be intentional was a big thing that, I don't think that he mentioned this in the conversation, but I heard him before say that he doesn't own a TV and he's never owned a TV. Yeah. And so just that small fact, that doesn't change everything for somebody, but that small fact that his life is cleared out from a lot of the things that make it hard to be intentional, and not just intentional, like, oh, I got to go, have conversations with people or whatever, but a kind of cheerful intentionality, like the thing that he was talking about going, what was it? Like 3 days a week he goes and stands while the kids come out of the bus
for an hour. Right.
And just to look at them and just greet them. I mean, that's the kind of intentionality that we lose because of just the classic things. They're easy targets like the scrolling and the GV and the streaming and all that stuff. But it is really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting that I think that, I don't know, just for you and me, I mean, I think that this project that we're working on and that we're continuing to do is the intentional effort, because it does, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time to get the things together and to work it all out. But that level of thoughtfulness and work has at its core to continue to keep sharp on engaging with people, to be able to discover how humanity is really so interesting to know and to understand, and then to be able to engage in it in a way that's also reciprocal.
Yeah.
And certainly
and that's authentic
today.
The authenticity.
Bebo Norman closer. Man, I have not heard the name Bebo Norman since maybe 2003.
And that's one of those things. That's one of those things where we say something and I don't know that anybody else, does anybody else even know who that is? I mean, I'm sure they do, but I do.
I mean, not today's generation, but
right.
I mean, you know what it is? It was, who he's got vibes of is, I think he was the original Andrew Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot like that for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was his vibe. It was pre-Jack Johnson, it was and his vibe was, I mean, again, it was different because you got to remember during that time, I mean, that was like DC Talk Jesus Freak. That was that kind of, Newsboys.
He was definitely deeper.
You know what I mean?
Christian music at a time when I really needed that. And
I know. It was this, oh, wait a minute. There's a way of reflection and how he did that. It just was, I'm sorry. I lost my mind. I literally lost my mind.
Dude,
it was like those moments. That's so funny, Rush. That's another thing.
It is another thing.
That's so funny. We were just, I mean, for our listeners and maybe are listening in on this, it's like Rush and I actually, a part of this project is actually our continued friendship and the enjoyment of each other. We continue to find these bizarre connecting points that we really were kind of living parallel lives. Yeah. And Bebo Norman.
I know.
Bebo Norman. Yet another one, Rush.
Maybe he'll get on here with us.
Put it in the bucket.
You think we can get him on here with us?
Oh, gosh. I think
that'd be cool.
That would be fun.
But we can't talk about throwing up in our mouths with Bebo Norman.
Yeah,
but you can with Allen, though.
Dude, all I'm saying
that's why he's so authentic. Like a guy that can come on the conversation and talk about something so normal as throwing up in your mouth because you feel overwhelmed.
Oh my gosh. And all I'm saying is that you did that, and then that's gonna make the pre part of the show, our banter the front, that runs all the way through. And I hate you and love you for it.
If you enjoyed Allen Levi as much as we did, you're going to love the rest of Season 2. So be sure to subscribe and don't miss a minute of our interesting conversations with complete strangers. And don't forget to check the show notes for a link to get your copy of Allen Levi's incredible novel,
Theo of Golden. And we'll see you next time on The Most Interesting Person in the World.